Basically, what do we use email marketing for? I mean, there's traditionally, it's just about communication, really. And most people, when they think about email marketing, it's really about bulk communication. And it used to be very different to what it is now. I think really email marketing now is much more targeted. It's much more focused on even down to the individual, certainly with more automated marketing where you can focus on how people visit a website and sign up for a form and then follow them up in the right way. But essentially, the way we tend to think about it is it's either a regular newsletter. So it's something where you want to keep in contact with your customers. And that's something we do. And we find while people read it, they don't give us much feedback until I actually speak to them in person. But I know they do read it and people do get value from it. So it's really useful. And it's also really nice to have sending a regular newsletter because it gives us a deadline. So we also run another podcast as well. So I know Claire, who's the admin in the chat at the moment, she puts together everything for us. So having this regular newsletter is a really nice deadline for collating content, writing articles, producing the podcast, and getting everything ready so it can go out in this one hit. Also quite useful for sales promotions. Personally, rather than Inventive, we don't do a lot of that, although we have done with our Inventive People site. But I know a lot of customers that we work with, it can be quite useful to have targeted promotions going out at certain times when maybe they've got a dip in sales and they want to push that up a little bit, or you just want to get ahead for things like Christmas. Or, and this is something that we probably won't have time to go into too much right now, but we might want to later if people want to, on another IMC, dig into it. Marketing funnels and really using email marketing to nudge people down a funnel. And by that, I mean, if you haven't heard the term marketing funnel, it's about capturing people who are interested in solving a particular problem. So you might capture them with a blog article and then use email marketing to nudge them slightly further, answer more of their questions until at some point they're ready to buy from you, or they're going to drop out of the funnel because they're not interested. So they're my sort of 3 reasons, I think, for using email marketing. Jack, do you have anything else in your experience working with customers where email marketing has been quite useful?
No, you've covered all the 3 sort of core areas there. And I've worked with a variety of different people to do all 3 of those, but also sometimes to create, let's say, a newsletter that actually comprises the sales promotion and the nudge down the funnel, just so that we're not communicating with people too often, but we are trying to tick all of those boxes. We've also done it around product launches. So there might be a series of emails or videos that we would include in the email to launch a product or sort of to pre-promote the launch of something. But that probably fits in with sales promotion. So it's really just the 3 that you've covered.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it comes down to planning for me. So let's move on, and we'll be talking about some case studies later so we can see some examples of how that works. Just before we go on to that, I thought it'd be quite interesting just to look at some email stats. A lot of people ask me, what is a good open rate? What is a good click-through rate? And I'm like, I don't know. It depends on your industry. It depends on your email. It depends on your audience, how receptive they are. Whether you've got a list of, say, 20,000 people and you're just blasting out the same message to all of them, or it's a very honed down list and you're segmenting it. So you're only sending it to people who are interested in that particular message. So it's quite difficult to know. However, there is a great website which you can find on MailChimp where they do collate. They basically look through and aggregate all of the data across all of the email campaigns that MailChimp run, and they've produced blog articles where they basically produce all this information. So you can see, for example, if you're an architect, then really you want to be looking at the industry standard is about 23% open rate, or your click-through rate is about 2.55%. It doesn't mean whether you're wrong or things are going badly if you're under that, but it just gives you an idea, maybe something to aim for if things are under that, because this is what MailChimp is reporting as industry standard. Claire, you're raising your hand. I haven't used that in the IMC first, so if you just let me, why are you raising your hand there? You've got something to say, or you're just testing out one of the emoticon features in this particular thing, or you like it? I'm interested, Nikki. Oh, maybe I have to. Right. Okay. Yes. So Nikki was talking about something to do with the 10 by 10 to identify where leads come from and measure success. Now, I remember a business coach talking about that, Nikki. And I believe it's using 10 different marketing streams and measuring the success of each one of those. But I can't remember what the buy 10 was for. So maybe if you go into that and we can pick that up later. Before we jump into some of the case studies, I'm just going to put up some of these comments here. There's one from Abby, just going back through to, I don't actually know what works well with email marketing and how to measure it. So she's keenly listening to this. Hopefully there'll be a few things later on in the tips for that. Nikki says that they use email marketing for getting interesting information out to customers. Now, I think what's the important word there is interesting. It's really useful, or it's good to make sure that your email marketing is interesting or attractive in some way. Otherwise, it is just blasting out spam to people. And then Claire. So just a little bit background, Claire. Claire, I hope you don't mind me saying. So Claire works with us. She's a film videographer. She compiles the email campaign. She edits the podcast. She does lots of stuff, as well as adminning the IMC here. But she also works for another company in Hereford called Selmac. And so actually it's quite interesting with Claire, because not only does she see it from our side as a sort of marketing company stroke agency, but also within a company as that marketing admin. So what she says here is we've been trying to identify where leads come through our CRM to help measure success. So that's actually quite key. It's really useful. For example, in the email marketing that we've been doing with Selmac, we can push a lot of that marketing out, and people can maybe come through to the website or call up. But actually, we want to measure its success. So part of what we need to do is to educate the people involved to make sure they're putting the right codes down on those calls coming in, so we can see that email actually generated a tangible lead, and it's not just an existing customer. Because we found that often that the email would not generate the intent to buy, but it would generate the reason to buy at that time. So it's a nudge, it was a trigger, it was just a push over the edge. And sometimes that's definitely worth knowing.